everybody, dear Myrtle here. Carrie and I are in the middle of this mess of scanning and digitizing all these documents and things that came from my dad's genealogy, basically. So my whole house is a wreck, but we're making progress, genealogically speaking. So in this segment, Carrie wants me to point out to you how we used to order microfilm. So you might want to zoom in on this, Carrie. This is my copy of a microfilm order for a film of Kentucky, Lincoln County, Will Book A, 1783. Now, you notice I was pretty good about keeping these. They're all stapled together. And then when the microfilm arrived, I was at that time attending the Washington, D.C. Temple Family History Center. They now call it the Washington, D.C. Family History Center. It's still on Stony Brook. But there's the notice that the film arrived back in 1988. And Carrie, you get a big kick out of this one, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
This
yes.
is the one that has Paul Froman's will in that 1783 time period, and I couldn't find it. I can remember the day that we were at the Family History Center, and I was trying to look at these other films because they all had to go back. And you said, well, what can I do? And how old were you?
I was 10.
Okay, a little 10-year-old girl. She said, well, I want to look at a film. And I'm like, yeah. So I gave her this one, the 1783 one, to look at. She says, well, what am I looking for? I'm saying, Paul Froman, and I wrote it out. She found his will. She could read the handwriting. I couldn't.
Yes.
So that was the old way of doing things. But let me tell you what I used to do in preparing for a trip to the Family History Library. When I knew I had a lot of research to do, I'd just automatically print out the entry from the Family History Library catalog. And then I just kind of stack them up. And do you see that there's the film I needed to order, and this is what I needed to look for. I'm assuming that this Bible record of William Gist from 1760 to 1834 was probably about the brother of Joseph Gist. Joseph Gist is our guy. William would be his brother. And then those are the ancestors prior to that. And when I had about 70 or 80 of these microfilm in a stack, then I'd go to Salt Lake. Now we don't do it that way. It's possible to copy and paste this and put it on your to-do list right there in Roots Magic or whatever genealogy program you've got. So the advantage of our being able to put it on a to-do list is that there's all the information you need to create a source citation. Here, this was a tickler list for me, but it was dependent on my having this stack of papers. Whereas now I use, for instance, right now you have Roots Magic. In fact, there's the Joseph Gist that's the brother of William Gist. All the information I need should be in my computer in a Dropbox folder so that it's not even dependent on this computer living or dying. Basically, look at all these old cards. This is where I would say, there was one here where I would say that I'd found, these are things I had to look at. Order fish to look at the census index for 1850, 60, and 70. Here's one where it says that I actually did do this. I looked at that microfiche for Utah for a book called Hand Carts to Zion. And I was to look in the index for Christiansons. And I found there was a William Wright and a Maria Wright and something about Elizabeth, 59 years of age. So that's how we kept notes in the olden days.
Wow.
We didn't put things in our genealogy program until we were sure it was an ancestor. Now our genealogy programs can handle multiple trees, so if I'm working on an unknown family group, I can create a new tree just about that family, keep all the documents that I find about that family, and then if I do determine that that other small family belongs in my database of known ancestors or collateral siblings, then I can just import it over. So that's what we did.
Wow. Can I just say how grateful I am for technology? Wow.
It's a lot easier than having all these. We actually retrieved these from the garbage because they've all been dealt with. And I don't do this kind of research anymore. So
Thank goodness.
yes, every time I find something and I've ordered the film, I attached it and then I made notes as to what I found on that film, whether it was negative or positive. Negative meaning didn't have any of our known surnames.
Right.
You know, if it didn't have the exact given name and surname, if it just had a surname, I kept the information because I may not yet know the relationship.
Right.
Anyway, happy family tree climbing. That's a wrap.